The day had been long, the kind that leaves your feet aching and your mind buzzing even after the lights go out. I was 22, working as a community center coordinator, and Halloween 2023 had been our biggest event yet. Parents dragged their kids in by the dozen for a festival packed with games, a costume contest, trivia questions answered and candy prizes, and the grand finale, a kids versus parents dodgeball showdown in the gym. The place smelled like popcorn, sweat, and face paint. Kids screamed with joy every time a ball smacked the wall. I ran from station to station, refereeing, handing out treats, making sure nobody got hurt. By 5 o'clock, the last family left, the floors were sticky with spilled soda, and I was ready to collapse. I drove home, kicked off my shoes, and sank into the couch, planning to sleep until November. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Savannah, my 15-year-old sister, voice bright and pleading. Please, please, please take me and Jackson trick-or-treating. Mom and Dad are exhausted, and Jackson's dad is working late. Jackson, my 11-year-old nephew, chimed in the background, already hyped about his Sub-Zero costume from Mortal Kombat. I groaned. My body said no, but the big brother part of me said yes. I pulled on jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers, grabbed my keys, and drove to my parents' house. Savannah was still in the bathroom, finishing her Raven costume from Teen Titans, gray leotard, blue cloak, white makeup smeared across her face to look ghostly. Jackson bounced around the living room, plastic size sword strapped to his back. Uncle Mike, let's go, he yelled. I herded them into my car and headed for the richest neighborhood I knew, the one where people handed out full-size candy bars and sometimes even cash. We parked on a side street and started the loop. The air was crisp, leaves crunching under our shoes. Porch lights glowed orange and purple. Kids in superhero capes and princess dresses darted between houses. Savannah and Jackson ran ahead, pillowcases swinging. I trailed behind, hands in my pockets, scanning the crowd out of habit. One house had a fog machine and a guy in a werewolf mask jumping out from the bushes. Another had a table loaded with glowing punch and cookies shaped like bats. An older man in a lawn chair grilled hot dogs on a tiny portable grill. No candy here, he told the kids, handing them each a dog in a bun and a can of soda. Protein keeps you strong. I laughed. The guy was onto something. We kept moving. A little girl dressed as Elsa told Savannah her Raven costume was so cool. A teenager in a Spider-Man suit high-fived Jackson. The night felt perfect. By the time we hit the last house on the far end of the development, the streets had quieted. Most families were heading home. Street lights buzzed overhead. Our footsteps echoed. I glanced at my phone. Almost 9. Time to wrap it up. We turned back toward the car, a 10-minute walk. The houses here were spaced farther apart, lawns dark, porch lights off. That's when I saw her. Across the street, in the yard of a house with no lights, a figure stood perfectly still. All black, hooded cloak, pants, boots. A mask covered the face. No reflective patches, no glow from a phone. Just a shadow shaped like a person. My stomach tightened. I nudged Savannah. Stay close. Look left, but don't stare. She glanced, eyes widening. Jackson laughed. It's just someone trying to scare people. I didn't answer. My hand slid to the small of my back, feeling the weight of the Glock in my backpack. I always carried it when I was out late with the kids. Savannah knew. Jackson didn't. We walked faster. I risked another look. The figure hadn't moved, but the head was turned toward us. Watching. The street was empty now except for us and that shadow. My pulse thudded in my ears. Then I heard it. Heavy boots on pavement, steady, closing the distance. I spun. The figure was behind us now, same cloak, but closer. Streetlight caught the edges. Tactical vest, black cargo pants tucked into boots, full face spandex mask. No eyes, no mouth, just blank black. My brain screamed threat. I whispered, don't stop. Don't look back. That person is following us. Keep walking. Savannah's face went pale. Jackson's smile vanished. We moved in a tight knot, shoes slapping the sidewalk. The car was 2 blocks away. The footsteps stayed the same pace, never speeding up, never slowing. Like a metronome, I glanced back every few seconds. The figure kept the exact distance, 20 yards, maybe 30. Not running, not hiding, just following. My hand closed around the grip of the Glock inside the backpack. The parking lot came into view. My car sat under a street lamp. The figure was still coming. I made the call. I stopped, turned, and pulled the gun. The figure froze, hands rising slowly. I aimed center mass. Why are you following us? My voice cracked but held. Silence. Then the mask came off. A woman, maybe 35, short dark hair, pale skin. She stared, expression flat. I asked again, why are you following us? Her lips moved, voice flat and robotic. I'm an undercover cop. There was a break-in reported. I was checking the house. You looked suspicious, so I followed. Lower the weapon or I'll have you arrested for threatening an officer. I hesitated. My arms shook. Arrest. With kids in the car. But nothing added up. Undercover cops don't wear cloaks. They don't stand in dark yards facing the street. They don't follow families for blocks. I lowered the gun but didn't holster it. If you're undercover, why the cloak? Why the tactical gear? That screams cop, not covert. She didn't answer. Her eyes narrowed, something cold and angry flickering. Then she smiled. Not friendly. Not human. If you didn't have that gun, she said, this night would have ended a lot different for you. 4 more figures stepped from between 2 houses. Same gear, no cloaks. 3 men, 1 woman. Blank faces. No emotion. Like robots in skin. My blood turned to ice. I yelled, Savannah, Jackson, car, now. They scrambled inside. I backed toward the driver's door, gun still out. The woman kept smiling. The others just stared. I jumped in, locked the doors, and peeled out. In the rearview, she stood in the street, smile wide, the others motionless behind her. The ride home was silent. Savannah clutched her candy bag like a shield. Jackson stared out the window. I dropped them at my parents' house, watched them run inside, then drove home on autopilot. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I locked every door, checked every window, and sat on the couch with the Glock on my lap until sunrise. 3 days later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo. My car, parked outside my apartment, timestamped an hour earlier. No message. Just the image. I called the police. Told them everything. They took a report but said without a direct threat, their hands were tied. I drove to the house where I first saw the woman. Knocked. A man in his 40s answered, confused. Break in. No, nothing like that. I was asleep by 9. I thanked him and left, heart pounding. I installed a Ring camera. Started therapy. Slept with the gun under my pillow. The photo was the last contact. No texts, no shadows, no footsteps. But every Halloween, I scan every crowd, every dark yard, every figure in black. I was armed that night. I believe it saved our lives. I was 12, and Halloween was supposed to be the best night of the year. My parents decided to skip our usual neighborhood and booked a cabin at a small family resort an hour from home. 10 cabins, a lodge, a lake, and a big field for games. Woods surrounded everything. During the day, it was perfect. Kids in costumes, the smell of wood smoke and caramel apples, orange lights strung between trees. At night, the woods turned black and endless. The resort hosted a Halloween weekend. Games, a costume contest, a haunted hayride. We checked in Friday afternoon. I explored while my parents unpacked. Booths lined the field, ring toss, beanbag throws, pumpkin carving. I met Ryan, another kid my age, dressed as a skeleton. We teamed up, won a bunch of candy, and planned to dominate the hayride. By 7, families gathered near a barn. A tractor pulled a wagon loaded with hay bales. The driver wore a scarecrow mask. Workers in zombie makeup hid in the woods to jump out and scare us. 20 of us climbed aboard, parents, kids, toddlers in strollers. The tractor rumbled onto a dirt trail lit by torches. Zombies groaned and staggered alongside. Everyone laughed. Halfway through, the trail narrowed. The torches were farther apart. I looked left into the darkness and saw him. A man stood just beyond the light. Black jacket, jeans, baseball cap pulled low. Hands in pockets. Not moving. Not part of the show. His zombie coworkers wore torn clothes and fake blood. This guy looked normal. Too normal. I felt his eyes on me. I turned to my mom, but she was laughing at a zombie. When I looked back, he was still there. Same spot. Same stare. The wagon rolled on. I tried to forget him. The ride ended. Everyone piled off, buzzing with excitement. I scanned the tree line. He was gone. We headed to the lodge for snacks and games. Ryan and I grabbed hot chocolate and ran between tables. An hour later, I saw him again. 30 feet away, near the trees, same jacket, same cap. Alone. Watching. My stomach knotted. I nudged Ryan. That's the guy from the woods. Ryan shrugged. Maybe a worker on break. But he wasn't talking to anyone. Wasn't holding a radio. Just standing. We lost sight of him in the crowd. By 9, the little kids left. Ryan and I still had energy. We wandered behind the cabins to a dirt trail leading into the woods. "Let's go a little way," Ryan said. "Scare ourselves for Halloween." I didn't want to, but I followed. We had flashlights. The resort noise faded. 200 feet in, we found a clearing with an old sign, "Private Property." We threw pebbles at it, laughing, daring ghosts to appear. Then we heard footsteps, heavy, slow, coming from deeper in the woods. We froze. Ryan whispered, "Another kid." But the steps were too heavy. Adult weight. I aimed my flashlight down the path. Nothing. Then silence. A voice cut through. "Hey there, boys. Calm, close." The man stepped into the light. Same jacket, same cap. "What are you doing out here? You like candy?" He held up a Reese's cup. "Got more in my cabin. Come on." Ryan's face went white. My heart slammed against my ribs. The man took a step closer. "I saw you on the hayride." That was it. I grabbed Ryan's arm. "Run." We sprinted. Branches whipped our faces. His footsteps pounded behind us, fast and heavy. I screamed for help as the resort lights appeared. We burst into the field near the bonfire. Adults turned, startled. I looked back. The path was empty. My dad and another man grabbed flashlights and searched. Nothing. Resort staff called the police. Officers arrived, took statements. Searched the woods, the cabins, the roads. No trace. No guest matching the description. They said maybe a trespasser. We locked our cabin door that night. I didn't sleep. Every creak outside was him. We left the next day. For weeks, I saw him everywhere. Gas stations, school pickup, the edge of crowds. Always someone else. Ryan and I texted for months. He had nightmares too. The police never called back. The man vanished. But every Halloween, when I see someone standing alone at the edge of a party, I remember his voice. "Come on, I'll give you candy." If we'd walked toward him, I wouldn't be here. My name is Roger. 3 years ago, Halloween was my favorite holiday. I was 26, new at an office job, stuck with crappy shifts. That year, Halloween landed on a Saturday. My girlfriend was out of town. I lived in a small house on the edge of town, quiet street, neighbors close but not too close. I bought 3 bags of candy, carved a pumpkin, and planned to hand out treats then watch horror movies. By 10:30, the street was dead. Porch lights off. I sat on the couch in sweatpants, picking through leftover Snickers, The Conjuring flickering on TV. A faint knock came from the side door. I figured late trick-or-treaters. Opened it. Nothing. Just my empty driveway and leaves skittering across the pavement. I laughed it off. Ding dong ditch, classic. Closed the door, turned the TV louder. 15 minutes later, another sound. This time the back door, the one nobody used, leading to a small deck. The knob rattled, slow and deliberate. My skin prickled. I crept to the kitchen, stayed low, and peeked through the window. A man crouched by the door. Dark clothes. Cheap cracked mask pushed up on his head like a beanie. In his hand, a crowbar. He wasn't hiding, wasn't rushing. He knew I was inside. I backed away, grabbed my phone, and whispered to 911. The operator told me to stay calm, lock myself in a room, keep her on the line. I crouched at the top of the stairs, kitchen knife in one hand, phone in the other. I heard a soft pop, the basement window screen coming off. Then glass cracking. He was breaking in. I whispered updates. "He's at the basement window." My voice shook. She said officers were close. Footsteps circled the house. Headlights swept the blinds. Red and blue flashed. The man bolted across the yard. Police tackled him before he reached the street. I was shaking so hard I dropped the knife. They brought him back in cuffs. His bag held a crowbar, duct tape, zip ties. Later, they found more in his car, 8.45 handgun, knives, rope. He had a record, break-ins, missing persons cases. This wasn't robbery. This was worse. If the cops had been 5 minutes later, I wouldn't be here. Every Halloween now, I keep every light on. Every knock makes my heart stop. The holiday is supposed to be fun. But some monsters don't need costumes. They just need you to open the door. These nights taught me one thing. Halloween hides danger in plain sight. A shadow in a yard. A man at the tree line. A knock after lights out. Always watch. Always be ready. Because the scariest part isn't the mask, it's what's behind it, waiting for you to look away. The festival had been a marathon. I was 22, the youngest full-time staffer at the community center, and Halloween 2023 was my trial by fire. We'd transformed the gym into a carnival. Black and orange streamers, fog machines coughing out clouds that smelled like burnt plastic, tables groaning under trays of cupcakes with gummy worm toppings. Kids in Spider-Man suits and unicorn onesies sprinted between booths. I refereed the pie-eating contest, judged the costume parade, and spent 20 minutes entangling a 6-year-old from a mummy rap game gone wrong. By the time the last dodgeball thudded against the wall, parents versus kids, final score 12-10 in favor of the grown-ups, I was coated in sweat and glitter. The clock read 5:15. I locked the doors, killed the lights, and drove home through streets already filling with early trick-or-treaters. My apartment was a third-floor walk up above a laundromat. I kicked the door shut, peeled off my shirt, and face-planted onto the couch. The plan: sleep until my body forgot what running felt like. My phone buzzed at 6:03. Savannah's name lit the screen. I let it ring twice, hoping she'd give up. She didn't. "Mike, please," she said the second I answered. "Mom's got a migraine, Dad's on overtime, and Jackson's been practicing his Sub-Zero fatality pose for 2 weeks." In the background, my nephew yelled, "Hadouken!" Even though that was the wrong franchise. I rubbed my eyes. Fine, 20 minutes. I pulled on jeans, a black hoodie, and my old Vans. The Glock 19 went into a small sling bag I wore crossbody, legal, concealed, and the only reason I ever felt okay driving the kids around after dark. Savannah knew about it. Jackson thought Uncle Mike carried a super cool backpack. I picked them up at my parents' split level on Maple Lane. Savannah was in the bathroom perfecting Raven's white face paint, swirling it with a sponge until she looked like a ghost who'd lost a fight with a flour bag. Jackson spun in the living room, plastic-size swords clacking. "Let's roll," I said, and we piled into my silver Civic. The neighborhood I chose was Oak Ridge Estates, McMansions, 3-car garages, and homeowners who competed to see who could give out the most extravagant loot. We parked on a cul-de-sac and started the loop. The air smelled like wood smoke and toasted marshmallows. A dad in a full Grim Reaper robe handed out glow sticks. A mom in a witch hat passed miniature bottles of sparkling cider. One house had a mechanical skeleton that dropped from the porch roof on a fishing line, making Jackson shriek with delight. Savannah's pillowcase filled fast. Jackson's Sub-Zero mask kept slipping, so I tied it tighter with a strip of duct tape from the glove box. We hit a house where an older guy grilled hot dogs on a Weber the size of a kiddie pool. "Candy rots your teeth," he told the kids, sliding foil-wrapped dogs into their hands. "Protein builds muscle." Jackson devoured his in 3 bites. Savannah wrapped hers in a napkin for later. Compliments flew. Teenagers in LED-lit superhero suits told Savannah her cloak was fire. A toddler dressed as a taco stared at Jackson like he was a real ninja. The night felt bulletproof. By 8:40, the crowds thinned. We'd walked farther than planned, past the last cul-de-sac into a section where the houses sat on half-acre lots, set back from the street. Porch lights clicked off one by one. Our footsteps echoed. I checked my phone. Battery at 20%, time to head back. The car was a 10-minute walk. We turned around. That's when I saw the figure. Across the street, in the yard of a brick colonial with every light extinguished, someone stood motionless. Hooded cloak, black pants, black boots. A full face mask swallowed any hint of skin. No phone glow, no candy bag, no kid at their side. Just a silhouette cut from the night. My pulse skipped. I've always scanned crowds, habit from growing up in a city where ignoring your surroundings got you robbed. I nudged Savannah with my elbow. "Stay close. Look left, casual." She glanced, eyes widening under the white makeup. Jackson snorted. "It's a scare prank, Uncle Mike." "Chill." I didn't chill. My hand brushed the sling bag. We walked faster. I risked another look. The head had turned, tracking us. The street was empty now except for the 3 of us in that shadow. Then the footsteps started, heavy, deliberate, boot soles grinding on asphalt. I spun. The figure was behind us, 30 yards back, cloak fluttering though there was no wind. Streetlight caught the edges. Tactical vest with pouches, cargo pants bloused into boots, spandex mask reflecting dull orange. No eyes, no mouth, just black. My brain screamed ambush. I leaned close to the kids. "Listen carefully. Don't stop. Don't look back. That person is following us. Keep walking, stay calm." Savannah's breath hitched. She understood. Jackson's grin faltered. We moved in a tight knot, shoes slapping pavement. I glanced every 5 seconds. The figure maintained exact distance, never closer, never farther. Like a shark pacing a boat. The parking lot appeared under a buzzing street lamp. My Civic sat alone. The figure was still coming. I made the decision. I stopped, turned, and drew the Glock in one motion. The figure froze, hands rising slowly, palms out. I aimed center mass. Why are you following us? My voice cracked but held. Silence. Then the mask peeled away. A woman, mid-30s, short dark hair, pale skin stretched tight over sharp cheekbones. She stared, expression blank. I asked again, why are you following us? Her voice came out flat, robotic. Undercover officer. Break-in reported at that house. I was surveilling. You looked suspicious, so I followed. Lower the weapon or face arrest for threatening law enforcement. My arms trembled. Arrest. With kids watching. But the story collapsed under its own weight. Undercover cops don't wear cloaks. They don't stand in dark yards facing the street. They don't tail families for 6 blocks. I lowered the gun but kept it ready. Cloak and tactical gear. That screams cop, not covert. Explain. She didn't. Her eyes narrowed, irritation flashing. Then she smiled, slow, deliberate, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. If you didn't have that gun, she said, this night would have ended a hell of a lot different for you. 4 figures stepped from between 2 houses like they'd materialized. Same gear, no cloaks. 3 men, 1 woman. Faces blank, emotionless. My blood turned to ice. I yelled, car, now. Savannah and Jackson scrambled inside. I backed toward the driver's door, gun sweeping the group. The woman's smile widened. The others stood like statues. I jumped in, locked the doors, and floored it. In the rear view, she remained in the street, smile carved deep, the others motionless behind her. The ride home was silent. Savannah clutched her candy bag like a life raft. Jackson stared out the window, Sub-Zero mask forgotten on the floorboard. I dropped them at my parents' house, watched them sprint inside, then drove home on autopilot. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I deadbolted every lock, checked every window, and sat on the couch with the Glock on my lap until sunrise painted the blinds orange. 3 days later, my phone buzzed at 2:14 a.m. Unknown number. A photo. My car, parked outside my apartment, timestamped an hour earlier. No message. Just the image. Driver's side door in perfect focus. I called the non-emergency line. The officer who took the report was polite but firm, without a direct threat, no investigation. I drove to the Brick Colonial the next morning. A man in his 40s answered, coffee mug in hand, dog barking behind him. Break in. No, sir. I was asleep by 9. Kids exhausted me handing out king-size bars. I thanked him and left, heart hammering. I installed a Ring camera, started therapy, slept with the gun under my pillow. The photo was the last contact. No texts, no shadows, no footsteps. But every Halloween, I scan every crowd, every dark yard, every figure in black. I was armed that night. I believe it saved our lives. I was 12, and Halloween was sacred. My parents decided to ditch our suburban loop for something different, a family resort an hour north called Pine Hollow. 10 log cabins, a lodge with a stone fireplace, a small lake, and a hayfield ringed by dense woods. During the day, it looked like a postcard. At night, the trees swallowed the sky. The resort advertised a Halloween weekend, games, costume contest, haunted hayride. We checked in Friday afternoon. I bolted from the car while Dad unloaded suitcases, drawn by the smell of wood smoke and the sound of kids screaming on a bounce house shaped like a jack-o'-lantern. The field was a carnival. Ring toss over witch hat bottles, beanbag throws into cauldron targets, a pumpkin carving station where orange guts piled high. I met Ryan, another 12-year-old in a skeleton onesie with glow-in-the-dark bones. We teamed up, won fistfuls of Tootsie Rolls, and planned to dominate the hayride. By 7, families gathered near a red barn. A tractor hitched to a flatbed wagon loaded with hay bales idled, exhaust curling into the chilly air. The driver wore a burlap scarecrow mask. Workers in zombie makeup tested groans and fake blood drips. 20 of us climbed aboard. Parents snapping photos, toddlers in strollers, teenagers daring each other to sit on the edges. The tractor lurched onto a dirt trail lit by tiki torches staked every 20 feet. Zombies staggered from the trees, dragging chains, moaning lines from bad horror movies. Everyone laughed. Halfway through, the trail narrowed. Torches were spaced farther apart. Shadows pooled thick. I looked left into the darkness and saw him. A man stood just beyond the torchlight. Black jacket, jeans, baseball cap pulled low. Hands in pockets. Not moving. Not part of the show. The zombies wore shredded flannel and latex wounds. This guy looked like he'd walked off a construction site. I felt his eyes lock on me. I turned to Mom, she was filming a zombie on her phone. When I looked back, he hadn't budged. Same stance, same stare. The wagon rolled on. I tried to shake it off. The ride ended in a cloud of laughter and hay dust. Everyone piled off near the lodge. I scanned the tree line. He was gone. We headed inside for hot chocolate and a costume contest. Ryan and I darted between tables, trading candy. An hour later, I saw him again. 30 feet away, near the edge of the crowd, same jacket, same cap. Alone, watching. My stomach knotted. I nudged Ryan. That's the guy from the woods. Ryan squinted. Maybe a worker on break. But he wasn't holding a radio, wasn't talking to staff. Just standing. We lost him in the shuffle. By 9, little kids were carried sleepy to cabins. Ryan and I still buzzed on sugar. We wandered behind the cabins to a dirt trail marked with a hand-painted sign, Nature Walk. Let's go a little way, Ryan said. Scare ourselves for Halloween. I didn't want to, but I followed. We had flashlights. The resort noise faded fast. 200 feet in, we found a clearing with an old wooden sign nailed to a pine. Private property, no trespassing. We threw pebbles at it, laughing, daring ghosts to appear. Then the footsteps, heavy, slow, coming from deeper in the woods. We froze. Ryan whispered, another kid. But the steps were adult weight, deliberate. I aimed my flashlight down the path. The beam cut 20 feet and died in blackness. Nothing. Then silence. A voice sliced through. Hey there, boys. Calm, close. The man stepped into the light. Same jacket, same cap. What are you doing out here? You like candy? He held up an orange Reese's wrapper. Got a whole bag in my cabin. Come on. Ryan's face drained. My heart slammed ribs. The man took a step. I saw you on the hayride. That was it. I grabbed Ryan's sleeve. Run. We sprinted. Branches whipped faces. His footsteps pounded behind. Fast, heavy, closing. I screamed for help as resort lights flickered ahead. We burst into the field near the bonfire. Adults turned, startled. I looked back. The path was empty. Dad and another father grabbed flashlights and charged the trail. Nothing. Resort staff called county deputies. 2 cruisers arrived, red and blue painting the trees. Officers took statements, mine, Ryan's, our parents'. They searched. Woods, cabins, access roads. No trace. No guest matching the description. They theorized a trespasser who slipped away on foot. We locked our cabin door that night. I lay awake, every creak outside a footstep. We left Saturday morning. For weeks, I saw him everywhere. Gas stations, school pickup, the edge of soccer fields. Always someone else. Ryan and I texted nightmares for months. Police never followed up. The man vanished. But every Halloween, when I see someone standing alone at the edge of a party, I hear his voice. Come on, I'll give you candy. If we'd walked toward him, I wouldn't be here. Story 3. The knock after lights out. My name is Roger. 3 years ago, Halloween was my escape. I was 26, new at an insurance firm, stuck with inventory shifts and weekend closings. That year, Halloween fell on a Saturday. My girlfriend was visiting her parents in Florida. I lived in a small ranch house on the edge of town, quiet street, neighbors who waved but kept distance. I bought 3 bulk bags of candy, carved a lopsided pumpkin, and planned to hand out treats then binge horror movies. By 10:30, the street was dead. Porch lights off. I sat on the couch in sweatpants, picking through leftover Snickers, The Conjuring flickering on TV. A faint knock came from the side door. I figured late stragglers. Opened it. Nothing. Just my empty driveway and leaves skittering across asphalt. I laughed. Ding dong ditch, classic. Closed the door, turned the volume up. 15 minutes later, another sound. The back door, the one nobody used, leading to a small deck overlooking the yard. The knob rattled, slow and testing. My skin prickled. I crept to the kitchen, stayed low, and peeked through the window blinds. A man crouched by the door. Dark hoodie, dark jeans. Cheap cracked plastic mask pushed up like a beanie. In his hand, a crowbar. He wasn't hiding, wasn't rushing. He knew I was inside. I backed away, grabbed my phone, and whispered to 911. The operator told me to stay calm, lock myself in a room, keep her on the line. I crouched at the top of the stairs, kitchen knife in one hand, phone in the other. I heard a soft pop, the basement window screen coming off. Then glass cracking, deliberate and quiet. He was breaking in. I whispered updates. He's at the basement window. My voice shook. She said officers were 3 minutes out. Footsteps circled the house. Headlights swept the blinds. Red and blue flashed. The man bolted across the yard. Police tackled him before he reached the neighbor's fence. I was shaking so hard I dropped the knife. They brought him back in cuffs. His backpack held a crowbar, duct tape, zip ties. In his car, parked 2 streets over, 8.45 handgun, kitchen knives, rope. He had a rap sheet, break-ins, assaults, 2 missing persons cases where the trail went cold after a home invasion. This wasn't robbery. This was worse. If the cops had been 5 minutes later, I wouldn't be here. Every Halloween now, I keep every light on. Every knock makes my heart stop. The holiday is supposed to be fun. But some monsters don't need costumes. They just need you to open the door. These nights carved something permanent into each of us. A hyper-awareness that never sleeps. A flinch at shadows. A hand that drifts to a holster. A locked door. A phone ready to dial 911. Halloween is candy apples and laughter, until it isn't. Until the porch light clicks off and the real world steps out of the dark, smiling, waiting for you to blink. Stay alert. Stay armed. Stay alive.